Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Good Monday evening. Welcome to the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I am Randy Rosetta. This is a 3 times a week show in the fall when we talk to high school coaches and high school athletes about what's going on in their school with their season. And we stick to mostly football in the fall, but we're going to shake it up a little bit this week. We did a little bit last week. We are 6 weeks into the high school football season, which means there are 5 weeks of the regular season left. Some teams still have a bye week, some have had a bye week, but we are getting into, everybody will be into district play as of this week. Friendship and District 2-6A get going, so we will have plenty of football left to talk about. We're going to jump into the Matador Fan Zone shortly. Eric Ward is en route. His team won another very interesting game. Scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to come back and beat Andrews 28-20. I was at that game. It was very entertaining. Cedric Ross and that offensive line for Estacado kind of took over in the fourth quarter, and it was something to see. It was Cedric Ross is a real deal. I just saw somebody post something about that on social media about him and Chase Campbell being about as good as it gets in Lubbock. And offensively, it would be hard to argue with that. Ryan Rodriguez is in that conversation. When he's on the field, hopefully he will be back this week for the Lubbock Cooper Pirates. And there's a couple of other guys. Liberty's got a bunch of guys that you could throw into the mix. They are kind of they do things by committee a little bit more there than other places do. So Friendship does a little bit too. But definitely Cedric Ross and Chase Campbell are kids headed to Division I, and deservedly so. We can talk about those guys a little bit later. Before we get started, I mentioned we are on 3 times a week in the fall. That's through Thanksgiving, and then we come back after Thanksgiving. We cut it back to twice a week. We go this will be a little bit different. We'll go 4 schools a night on those 2 nights. We keep Tuesdays open for basketball because that high school basketball is such a big deal in Lubbock, boys and girls. The lineup during the fall for the next 6 weeks, I believe it is Monday nights are Estacado, Memorial, and Liberty. Tuesday nights will be Monterey and Coronado. Wednesday nights, Lubbock High, Friendship, and Lubbock Cooper. We start at 6 p.m. Each of those nights go to either 7:30 or 7 p.m. From 6 to 6:30 on Friday nights on both Double T 97.3 FM and right here on 100.7 The Score, you can listen to the West Texas Friday night preview show. You can check in on those same 2 stations from 9:30 to midnight for the West Texas Friday night scoreboard show. Archive shows can be found on the High School Fan Zone page at doubleTSportsNetwork.com. And don't forget to download the 100.7 The Score mobile app to listen live or to the podcast of all 8 of the High School Fan Zone shows. We do, like I said, we do 3 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday. And you can go back and listen to any of those. As you can see, Eric Ward has arrived safely here, and he's got a very large young man with him who has become one of my favorite people to watch. And I'm an old trained sports writer. I'm used to watching where the ball's going, which a lot of sports writers, sportscasters are used to doing. When you guys play, I'm watching this number 77. I'm watching number 77, Vershaundrick Smith, for those who don't know him, who moves humans very well. Here, grab your microphone. I asked you this the other day. Vershaundrick, what's your favorite breakfast?
Pancake.
There we go.
Yes, sir.
Hold that up above the silver to make sure it's not all crackly in there. And you can use your outside voice if you need to.
Yes, sir.
We were just running through radio stuff, but I'm glad these guys got here because I mentioned before you guys got here, your game the other night was very interesting. You guys make sure that people stay in the stadium till the very end because that fourth quarter has kind of become Matador time the last couple of weeks. Eric, when I talked to you afterwards, I'm not sure it had completely sunk in yet what you guys had just done. You've had a few days now. That was a special win. Those last 2 are the kind of wins that, and we're not going to put the cart before the horse, but if you guys are a playoff team, those kind of wins are the ones that get you ready for what you're going to see in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Again, like V and I were talking about that on the way here, just how to start off faster and not, wait until the fourth quarter to kind of get it going. And so there were very exciting wins, and we're still working to get 1% better each day in practice.
But I think you've said this to me both weeks, the last 2 weeks. There's a reason they give you 4 quarters. You got to play all 4 quarters. You got to play all 48 minutes and sometimes a little bit more. You may as well take advantage of all of them.
Yes, sir. I always preach, play as hard as you can for 1 hour. And, every play for 4 to 6 seconds from point A to point B, give it all you got.
Rashandrick, he doesn't have to twist your arm on that. I've watched you not only on offense, now you're doing things on defense, which I don't know if that was by design or if that's just because it's impossible to keep off the field. But what's it been like for you these last 2 weeks when you guys went into the fourth quarter and had to kind of find something?
That's a good question. I'll say, I don't know. I don't know. We sat there as a team during halftime and talked that we can't keep playing catch up. Because we keep playing catch up in the playoffs, we end up getting sent home. So we talked and we said, come to the second half, we come to play some football.
And you guys haven't been too far behind. That's helped a little bit too. It's because of the defense you guys have played the last couple weeks. So that brings us to the end of the first segment. This is 100.7 The Score. Come back and join us. We'll talk more about the Matador football team in the high school fan zone right after this break.
Diving headfirst into Estacado athletics. You're listening to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the Matador Fan Zone on a Monday night. Before we jump back in and talk to Eric Ward and Rashandrick Smith, let's run through the scores from last week. Thursday night, these guys at Lowry Field beat Andrews 28-20. I guess you call that a come from behind win. You guys were down 20-7. You had to chop some wood to get back in that game. And I mentioned that in the story I wrote. That was even a little bit more impressive than the Randall game, because Randall, you're right there with them. So Friday night, all kinds of football going on. In District 2 5A Division 1, Monterey beat Coronado 42-7. Lubbock High made the trip to Amarillo and things did not go well. They lost 69-7 to Tascosa. District 2 5A Division 2, Lubbock Cooper got back on track, won its first district game after losing the opener, beat Wichita Falls Legacy 49-26. In non-district, Liberty took its first loss of the season, lost to Greenwood 34-14. I was at that game. It was a much different game in the second half, kind of the opposite of Estacado. They dug a hole. They couldn't quite dig out of it. Trinity Christian beat Tulia 49-0. Lubbock Christian beat Prosper Richland, which is a JV program right now, will be a 5A Division 2 program next year. Lubbock Christian beat them with a field goal with about 1 minute and 47 seconds left, and then got a fumble on the kickoff, beating 36-33. Levelland, who Estacado will take on this week, beat Snyder 41-14. And then Thursday, there was also a six-man TAPS game. Kingdom Prep went up to Wildorado and won 50-0. And on Saturday, Christ the King in a TAPS six-man game beat the West Texas Tornadoes 54-0. Guys, I mentioned this. Against Randall, you were scoreless going into the fourth quarter, so it was just defensive war of wills going back and forth, and then you had to answer when they scored. This one, Andrews had you on your heels a little bit. That offense was clicking. Went into halftime, they were up by a touchdown. They got that other touchdown. All of a sudden, it's a dangerous situation. Eric Rashandrick said there was some discussion at halftime, but when a team gets that bigger lead coming in the third quarter, that's when guys themselves have to kind of take over and become the leaders. What did you see from your guys, not just in the fourth quarter when you got the 3 touchdowns, but in the third quarter to kind of weather things while they figured it out?
I saw resiliency. Like I tell anybody, our kids know how to fight. They're resilient and they're tough kids. And so for them to stick together and go out there and work together and get it done, that's what you want to see as a coach.
I want to read you what this really smart coach told me after the game. This is from Coach now. I know for a fact that these guys are fighters. Let's see. I know they've got heart. We made a lot of mistakes and shot ourselves in the foot a bunch, so we know we have to fix some things, but there's never a doubt in my mind that these guys would stop fighting until the very end. Sums you guys up pretty well, Rashandrick. When you know Coach thinks that way about you, how much does that kind of fire you up?
They do get me fired up because he got faith in us. That's really what we need. Just have that's all we need. We just need faith. I feel like we got the faith. We can go out there and be anybody.
And it doesn't hurt to have some of the guys you have, both up front and behind them. You had to do a little bit on offense. You guys' defense has been great the last couple weeks, but you had to find some things on offense. What did start clicking in that fourth quarter when you had the ball in your hands?
Just coming down to it and just thinking, what do we need to do as a team to put ourselves in position? And so just thinking of players, not plays, and just going out there and just executing and playing team football.
I told you afterwards there were 2 times your guys, if they weren't fighters, could have waved a white flag. First one, Cedric breaks off the long run, and all of a sudden he gets called back. And I loved his quote afterwards. He said, "I don't care. I'm going to score again." And it took about 4 or 5 plays, but he got back into the end zone. And then Andrews got the ball back. They got a first down. You guys stopped them. And then they're really good running back, Jayshawn, I don't think of his name, number 38, Jayshawn DuBose, who was their punter also, got just enough on a fake punt run to get them a first down. That could have been kind of the nail in the coffin. Your guys just defensively rose up again. I say your offense had to do a lot, but your defense was great in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's credit to the coaches, credit to Big V and all the other players that we have that practice hard and hold each other accountable. I think Josh Young is doing a phenomenal job, and our defensive coaching staff doing a phenomenal job with our defense. Same thing with offense. We have some kids that help out on both, and they do a phenomenal job just staying in there, staying in the fight, and leaning on each other and playing team football.
I don't know how to explain this, but I've done this long enough. You can watch when a team is starting to believe what a coach or a coordinator is telling them. It may take a game or two, but you can tell your defensive guys are starting to buy in to what Josh is getting them ready to do. Is that something you've seen those last 2 games in particular?
Yes, sir. We meet every week, and I let them know what I see, and we all have a roundtable discussion, and we hold each other accountable. We also have constructive conversations, and what can we do to put our kids in the best situation to be successful, and that's what we do as a staff. And then just to go out there and see it all come together, that means a lot as a program.
Coming up to the end of the second section here, second segment of the Matador Fan Zone. We'll come back and talk a little bit more when we come back on 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back. We have one more segment of the Matador Fan Zone. We're going to shift gears here. I did mention to Eric and Rashandrick that as the defense came up big, and it wasn't always the guys that jump off the page. And now Malachi's had a great season, but it was D.D. Traylor, it was Rayshawn Chan, it was other guys, Sanders. Guys, your defense kind of got contributions from everybody, and that's another thing that helps when you get to the playoffs. So we're going to talk about Levelland here because Eric Ward and the Matadors go out to Levelland for a 7 p.m. game Friday. That'll be down the radio dial a little bit. Nick Long will be on the call with that. That was was that your tightest district game last year, 28-23?
Yes, sir. That was the first district game last year as well. And
it's a deal where you've got 2 guys who are 2 coaches who are friends, played wide receiver together at Texas Tech. Of course, Levelland's coached by Lyle Leong. And this Levelland team, they were competitive last year, but just like everybody else, his guys got a little bit older, a little bigger, stronger, faster. We were talking about their quarterback, but they're offensively, they've had some moments. They're averaging about 394 yards a game. Their quarterback, I believe, is Ethan Salazar. I want to find his stats real quick here that I posted today. He's thrown for 1,066 yards and 14 touchdowns. I think just 3 interceptions. So they kind of go as he goes, but they have some different weapons. What do you have to be ready for against them?
Obviously, he's thrown for a lot of yards, be ready for the pass, but they also have a good running back, so be ready for that as well. I think they have a balanced attack. Just looking at film, it looked like they have a pretty balanced attack. Just doing our job. As I always say, the focus is on us and what we need to do as a team to go out there and just play our brand of football.
Rashandrick, I was thinking in my head, I was going to say that they don't have a whole lot of guys as big as you, but I don't know if anybody that you play has anybody quite as big as V. But offensive line-wise, what do you guys have to do against their defense to make sure you're moving the ball and maybe do a little bit more before the fourth quarter?
We just got to wear them out. We just got to wear them out up front. And I feel like we hit them in the mouth first, it's over with.
I'm going to guess it doesn't take you very long to wear somebody out
Oh no, sir.
across from you. I bet they get pretty tired.
They do.
They probably see your number and they're like, let's get somebody else in here.
Yes, sir.
Because as I said before before you guys sat down, Eric, watching this young man it's fun because he road greats now. It's not. We can joke about the pancakes. We can joke about the knockdowns and all that, but he's just. How old are you? 16.
Yes, sir. I turned
For a
17 on
16-year-old
Friday.
offensive lineman with his size, who you have to grow into that. Sometimes young guys don't know what to do with that. He's very. I know he's going to get better. He has room to get better, but he's just very technically good at what he does on the offensive line.
Yes, he is. He's what people don't see. He works hard. He's very intelligent. He's a brilliant mind, and he's a leader on the offensive line and defensive line. But outside of that, his work ethic is unmatched. How much weight was your goal to drop this offseason?
30, and I dropped 30.
He dropped 30. He made a goal. He met the goal, and the work. And watching him work the way he did, I knew that he had a goal to reach, and I know he has more goals to reach. And so I know that his mind is in the right place, and so is his leadership.
You know, man, I'm somebody who's shed a few pounds the last 2 years, and I will tell you that I can respect that. I told somebody I was talking to an old friend of mine that it's hard. It takes some discipline. Takes rethinking the way you do things, and for you to be young, because when you're young, you think you're going to live forever.
Yeah, doing that at 16.
Until you get that gray hair. Then
yeah. I don't have any grays, do I?
no, not yet. You got a sixth son on the way. I bet.
Oh, man, he might put it there.
There we go. Speaking of your sons, Jarek didn't get popped this week.
He didn't.
He made it through.
You know, as anybody who's ever played football, you're going to get that welcome to varsity. And so unfortunately, he took some slides and received a target or two, but it's good. It's all good. He's healthy. He's learning, and I think that's good for him. That's good for the team, and it's good for the overall growth of our program.
And he's growing as a quarterback because the first touchdown you guys scored. Now Cedric got credit and he got the 24, but it took Jarek kind of being patient and waiting for that thing to open up a little bit. And that's for a young quarterback. That's not always. Especially after you've gotten hit pretty good the week before. That's not always the case.
Absolutely. At that role, you have to be poised, you have to be calm, and you also have to remain medium low and having a calm head and being collected because things go as you go. And so I think he's learning that, and I think it helps when you have guys like V in front of him and kind of steering the ship on the front of the line and keeping everybody on pace.
Did he keep you out of trouble with mom this week?
Sort of. Mom, that's mom's baby. All my sons are mama's boys, and so she's going to be overprotective of all of them.
I totally understand it. We're coming at the end here, but Rashawn Rick, real quick, do you take on? Is it even more important to make sure you're protecting the quarterback since he's got the same last name as your coach?
Yes, sir. That's my job.
There we go, and he does it well. Matadors at Levelland, 7 p.m. Friday at Lobo Stadium. We'll be back after this break to talk Panther football, I believe, in the Panther Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.